What is soil erosion? Soil erosion is the process of detachment, transportation and deposition of soil particles. Rainfall has the ability to detach the soil particles, and then these soil particles are carried away by flowing water. The two main agents which are responsible for soil degradation are water and wind. In India, erosion by water is a significant cause of erosion. Water erosion accounts for roughly 56% of the total degraded land, whereas wind erosion affects approximately 28% of the total degraded land. We will be learning about various forms of water erosion in the subsequent chapter. History of soil erosion. Accelerated erosion has been present since the early days of agriculture, dating back to ancient civilizations in Greece, Rome, Mesopotamia and other regions in the Middle East. There have been evidences of accelerated erosion in the history. The collapse of great ancient civilizations along the Tigris-Euphrates rivers serves as a stark reminder of irreversible consequences of land degradation. Hugh Bennett, considered as the father of soil conservation in the United States, extensively documented historical episodes of severe erosion and their consequences in his renowned textbook. It is important to learn about the historical events in which erosion has occurred to understand the seriousness and outcomes of erosion, because it leads to the development of effective strategies for managing future soil erosion. What are the consequences of soil erosion? Well, it definitely harms agriculture significantly. The crops are damaged, which results in lesser productivity. It harms agriculture, ecology and environment on site and off the site. It affects the croplands more due to minimal cover between seasons and during growth. If the land is barren, the impact of water erosion is significant. The soil particles are directly exposed to the kinetic energy of rainfall. Therefore, it is advisable not to leave the land barren. On site, it reduces soil productivity, while off site, it transports the sediments and chemicals to natural waters. So it will contaminate these natural water sources. Forests, pastures, rangelands also suffer from erosion impacts. It has been noticed that in the past few years, the rate of erosion has increased because of deforestation. Therefore, government is taking active steps to stop deforestation. Let us discuss some of the on-site effects of soil erosion. Erosion on the site leads to topsoil reduction. This topsoil is very fertile. It contains organic matter, it contains other nutrients which are essential for plant growth. This on-site erosion leads to reduction in this topsoil, causing soil degradation, compaction and depletion of nutrients. Farmers cannot afford to lose this topsoil. There will be loss in the organic matter of soil. It will result in poor seedling emergence, and therefore there will be significant reduction in the yield of crops. It is all because of erosion. There will be reduction in soil fertility because of the removal of the nutrient-rich topsoil, and therefore there will be lower crop production. With increasing population, there is an increase in demand for food. Our aim is to increase the productivity, but because of erosion, there is a chance that the productivity can reduce. Soil erosion hampers important functions such as crop production, pollutant filtration, and nutrient storage. The eroded soil can get deposited anywhere. It can get deposited at certain locations which are not suitable, and therefore it can affect the crop growth, and it can also cause inundation in valleys. So these are some of the on-site effects of soil erosion. Let us discuss some of the off-site effects of soil erosion. Water as well as wind will be able to remove the soil layers with concentrated agricultural chemicals, which leads to pollution and sedimentation of water resources. So if this runoff is not controlled, let us say there is a runoff on an agricultural land. So this runoff will also contain some chemicals, and this will be ultimately deposited in some water resource. So it is polluting that water resource. Off-site sediment and chemical transport alters the landscapes. It reduces the wildlife habitat and causes economic losses. Imagine the consequences here. Okay, wildlife habitat is drastically affected because of this sediments and chemical transport. Erosion will negatively impact the production of livestock. It will damage the water reservoirs and increases tree mortality. These are all short-term effects. Okay, if erosion is not controlled, we'll start seeing these consequences. Accumulation of eroded materials in alluvial plains will result in downstream flooding of croplands and water reservoirs. Wind erosion, it causes dust pollution. It affects the radiation, visibility, and it can cause accidents also. Fine particles can pose some risk to the human body. It poses risk to the human health and food processing plants also. So what are the drivers of soil erosion? Anthropogenic activities like deforestation, overgrazing, intensive cultivation, and urbanization has significantly accelerated soil erosion. The forest areas are reducing and the agricultural areas are increasing in order to meet the increasing demand of food. Because of reduction in forest area, there has been rapid increase in the erosion rate because these forests are responsible for holding the soil. Soil erosion is also influenced by land use, topography, climate, and social, economic, and political conditions. Poverty is also linked to soil erosion because the poor farmers will not be able to afford some of the expensive mechanical conservation practices. And because of that, there is increase in the erosion rate. He may adopt some vegetative measures, but it will be very difficult for poor farmers to adopt some of the mechanical measures. Overgrazing contributes to 35% of soil erosion, whereas deforestation and excessive cultivation contributes to 30% and 28% of soil erosion respectively. Deforestation. India lost 6,68,400 hectares of forest area due to high deforestation rates. That's a significantly high amount. Deforestation in India is caused by growing population, industrialization, and urbanization. Because of growing population, there is higher demand for food, and therefore agricultural areas are increasing and forest areas are decreasing. Clearing forests for agriculture, infrastructure and settlements leads to decline in the forest area. Dams, mining, large-scale projects also contribute to deforestation. Timber industry, illegal logging in protected areas are significant factors, as well as the demand for fuel wood driven by growing population. So these are some of the causes of deforestation, and deforestation is leading to higher soil erosion rates. Overgrazing. Concentration of livestock on the same land leads to overgrazing, trampling and soil displacement. Removing or thinning the grass will reduce the protective cover and increase the soil erosion rate, especially on steep slopes. When this soil is exposed to the rainfall, it will get detached easily. Overgrazing reduces the soil organic matter, degrades the soil structure and accelerates water and wind erosion. Continuous grazing increases soil susceptibility to wind erosion and can result in increased sand content, because the protected layer is lost because of grazing. So the soil is now susceptible to wind erosion, and therefore there will be higher amount of sand content which will be brought by the winds. Mismanagement of cultivated lands. Expansion of agriculture to sloping, shallow and marginal lands contributes to soil erosion. Intensive agriculture, ploughing and wheel traffic also causes degradation of soils and accelerates the water runoff. If the runoff is higher than the permissible velocity, then it carries away with it the soil particles. Removal of crop residues for various purposes reduces the protective cover and therefore increases the vulnerability of soil to erosion. So, shifting cultivation, yes, in densely populated areas can worsen the soil erosion due to reduced fallow phase duration. Farmers in regions with high population pressure and limited arable land may resort to using hilly lands for crop production. So these are some of the points which are responsible for mismanagement of cultivated lands. Now let us discuss the three stages: detachment, transportation and deposition. So what is detachment? It is the dislodging of soil particles from the soil mass by erosive agents. Rainfall has tremendous amount of kinetic energy. High intensity rainfall can easily detach even soils which are cohesive. So clay soils, clay soils are somewhat difficult to detach, but if the intensity is high, even clay soils can get detached. Once clay soils are detached, they can be transported easily because they are smaller in size, they are lighter. Transportation. What is transportation? It is the entrainment and movement of the detached soil particles from their original location. And once the kinetic energy of flowing water reduces, the particle will get deposited. Deposition occurs when sufficient energy is not available to transport particles. What are the major effects of soil erosion? It leads to considerable reduction in fertility because the topsoil, which is full of organic matter and other nutrients, is lost because of erosion. So reduction in fertility leading to a negative impact on crop production. There will be elevation of stream beds and overflowing of flood waters. Accumulation of sediment in the reservoirs will result in decreased storage capacity. Soil deposition will cause harm to the agricultural lands, railways and roads also. So these are some of the major effects of soil erosion. What are the major causes of soil erosion? Destruction of natural protective cover through indiscriminate felling of trees. Yes, deforestation. That is the major cause of soil erosion. Other than that, excessive grazing of vegetation and even forest fires are responsible for soil erosion. Improper utilization of land, including leaving it barren, making it susceptible to rain and wind erosion, and utilizing faulty irrigation practices can also lead to soil erosion. And therefore, the government is promoting micro irrigation methods because it leads to lower surface runoff and it results in lesser soil erosion. So let us discuss the various types of erosion. Broadly speaking, there are two types of erosion. One is geologic erosion and the other is accelerated erosion. Geologic erosion is a type of natural erosion, and accelerated erosion is the result of anthropogenic activities. Human activities are mainly responsible for accelerated erosion. Accelerated erosion includes water erosion and wind erosion. It means erosion caused by water and erosion caused by wind. Includes raindrop erosion, which is also called splash erosion, sheet erosion, rill erosion, gully erosion, ravine formation, and finally there is stream bank erosion. So these are the various types of erosion. Now let us discuss geologic erosion. As I explained before, it is a type of natural erosion where the rate of soil erosion is almost same as rate of soil formation. It is a very slow erosion process. By the time some amount of soil is lost, some amount of soil has already formed. In a pristine environment, there exists a balance between a location's climate and protective vegetation cover that shields the soil layer. Although vegetation such as trees, forests helps in slowing down the movement of soil particles, a minimal degree of erosion still occurs even under natural cover. So even though there is a significant forest cover in a certain area, there will be some minimum amount of erosion that will always go on. That is natural erosion. And the rate of this erosion will be almost equal to the rate of soil formation. So it's a very slow erosion process. So geologic erosion is a gradual process. This is counteracted by formation of soil, ensuring equilibrium over time. Accelerated erosion caused because of human activities. In accelerated erosion, as the name is suggesting, the erosion rate is much greater than the soil formation rate. So when land is put under cultivation, that natural balance which existed before is lost. The natural balance between the soil, vegetative cover and climate is disturbed. Under such circumstances, removal of surface soil due to natural agencies take place at a faster rate than the soil forming process. This is known as accelerated erosion. It is much faster than the formation rate. Global soil erosion status. Now let us have a look at water erosion and wind erosion proportions here. In Africa, you can see that water erosion and wind erosion contribute equally to erosion of soil. In Asia, majority of erosion is caused by water, and still we can see that significant soil is also lost by wind. But in Asia, you can see that erosion caused by water is more. See, it is similar in South America, Europe, North and Central America. Water erosion is dominating wind erosion. There is a small portion of soil which is lost because of wind erosion, but majority of soil is eroded because of water erosion. Depleting soil cover in India. Latest ISRO Atlas shows 87.85 million hectares of degraded land in India, which is almost 30% of the area of the country. 3.32 million hectares of land has been added to degradation between the year 2003 and 2019. Northeastern states have experienced rapid soil degradation despite biodiversity richness. States like Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Jammu, Kashmir and Karnataka have significant degrading land areas. Alarmingly high levels of land degradation pose a serious concern for India's environment and biodiversity. Wind erosion in India. Western Rajasthan, including the Thar Desert, is susceptible to wind erosion due to vast expanse of sandy and semi-arid lands present in the region. This area is vulnerable to wind erosion. So there will be significant formation of sand dunes. Punjab and Haryana encounters localized wind erosion, particularly during dry conditions. So during dry conditions of the year, there will be increase in wind velocity. There are reports of wind erosion even in Punjab and Haryana. Coastal regions, which are characterized by sandy soils, dunes and sparse vegetation cover, are prone to wind erosion. Coastal areas are susceptible because there will be sandy soil in that area. Dunes and the vegetation will be sparse. Then windbreaks are essential for protecting the agricultural land from the impact of wind erosion. So what is the solution? Windbreaks and shelter belts. We'll be learning about wind erosion control measures also in the subsequent chapters. Global wind erosion. Arid lands cover around 40% of the world's total land area and experience higher wind erosion rates compared to water erosion. So 40% of area which come under arid region are prone to wind erosion than water erosion. Regions like Great Plains, Andes, Pampas, Northern China, Western Africa, Western Australia face significant soil erosion by wind. Wind erosion has intensified in developing countries due to expansion in agriculture into marginal lands. In China, the wind erosion affects about 20% of the land area, increasing rapidly due to intensive cultivation and grazing. Global wind erosion. Dust storms originating in western China can transport dust clouds across oceans and continents. The West African Sahel experiences annual wind erosion rates of around 200 megagrams per hectare from bare and highly erodible soils. In Las Pampas, Argentina, wind erosion rates range from 10 to 180 mg per hectare per year. So, the Great Plains in the USA experienced an average loss of about 25 centimeter of topsoil due to wind erosion between the years 1930 and 1950, representing approximately 156 megagrams per hectare of annual soil erosion. So this is the global wind erosion scenario. We have also discussed some historical wind erosion losses also. Initiatives for conserving soil in India. PM Krishi Sinchai Yojana and Per Drop More Crop campaign is helping in education of farmers on maintaining the moisture in soil, because a moist soil is less susceptible to erosion. National Afforestation Program NAP and Green India Mission GIM also work in similar areas. Their objective is to control the erosion of soil by conserving the forests. Save Soil Movement promotes 3 to 6% organic content in global agricultural soil through policy initiatives. So experts released a global Save Soil policy handbook for 7 regions offering various policy recommendations. So the 3-pronged strategy includes incentives for the farmers, carbon credit facilitation, and quality mark for the food grown with 3 to 6% of organic content. So they are promoting increase in organic content, and for that they are offering various incentives. Soil conservation. Erosion control practices have been established worldwide due to better understanding, but still we have not been able to achieve desirable results. Despite advancements, erosion still remains a significant concern, and we need to address this concern because it is directly impacting the food security. Modern conservation policies address both on and off-site impacts of soil erosion. No-till farming and conservation tillage have definitely aided in reducing the soil erosion because the top layer is protected. We are refraining from keeping the land barren. Soil erosion remains a serious global threat, especially in developing regions with limited data. So in summary, water and wind erosion are the primary agents that cause soil degradation. We learned about some of the forms of water erosion. We broadly discussed geologic and accelerated erosion also. Deforestation, overgrazing, intensive cultivation and urbanization are the major drivers. Okay, and these are responsible for accelerating the soil erosion. So, soil erosion is a global problem with severe hotspots in specific regions. Erosion affects the productivity of agricultural land. It also affects environmental quality and global climate. So, we require adequate conservation policies to address soil erosion, especially in developing regions. Thank you.